Welcome to Red Maryland Radio, the Red Maryland Network's flagship show. Here are your hosts, Brian Griffiths and Greg Klein.
Look in my eyes, what do you see? The
and we are live. Red Maryland Radio.
We are. You were thrown off there.
I was thrown off
there.
there.
You can see now.
I can see
you.
I
You're
can
distracted.
See clearly now.
You can see how ADD is when he's looking at his phone.
Well, I'm trying to retweet the tweet that just went out promoting the show. I'm trying to multitask. When you're a two-person operation, basically, everybody has to do everything, Greg.
I'm doing everything. I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, coming to you live.
I started it from that instead of the jingle palette, which would have sounded a little bit louder.
Right, but that's okay. You don't have to replay it. You don't have to replay it.
Just saying.
You don't have to replay it.
Now that people can see in, and of course, and by the way, thanks again for the comments. You got Faces for Radio. We can do that. You can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Definitely. We know.
It hurts. Okay.
Well, I don't give a shit.
But okay, well, look at him then.
Yeah.
Send your cards and letters to.
Matinee
we got a lot to
Idol.
cover.
We do have a lot to cover, and we are live here from the Jim Plunkett studio on the bucolic and god-awful hot western shore of Maryland, in the central downtown
heart of the
business district of Severna Park, Maryland.
That's right.
Maryland's leading talk show, Red Maryland Radio, on the Red Maryland Network. I am Brian Griffiths. He is Greg Klein.
Good to be here.
We have a lot to talk about today. There's
So much.
Frankly, if you're Ben Jealous or a Ben Jealous fan, you're probably not going to want to listen to, the entire show, because we're going to be spending.
It's not even fair. I mean, I know that we're not fans of his, and I know it sounds like we're piling on, but he really is, again, this week, just not having a good week.
You're not having a good month.
It's just not going his way.
Basically, his campaign, his campaign's a roller coaster.
It's got to turn around
at
some point. I'm convinced of that.
The 26th of June was the top of the hill.
Yeah.
And it's basically been straight down ever since.
Yeah, it's like a roller coaster. It's getting faster too. I don't know what's going to happen here.
And it's kind of like one of those roller coasters. What was that place that Langer always talks about? Action Park, where people were getting decapitated and stuff like that.
I don't know. Langer talks about. He talks about a lot of things.
Langer
Is he still doing something? He's still on the radio, right?
He is on the radio.
Okay,
I believe.
Hi, Andrew. He's a good guy. We're giving him.
He is good people.
Okay, so we had campaign finance stuff come out. We'll talk about that.
Which, by the way, that is brutal. By the way,
another issue. We've talked enough about how the terrible single-payer insurance. We talked about the hideously expensive education programs. Let's take some time and talk about his prison reform program.
Yeah.
By the way, won't save what he wants, even though he's going to release thousands of prisoners on the streets.
Yeah, you won't be shocked to know Ben Jealous has no idea what the hell he's talking about.
It's these are problems. And then we had a run-in. We've had some back and forth with the guys from The Real News.
You can't see air quotes on the radio.
But you can see it in the live Facebook video. The Real News.
Facebook.com/Red Maryland. If you're not
Brian's done a great piece at redmaryland.com completely debunking them.
Yeah.
The governor called them the fake news, and they're trying to make some. He used a Trumpism. Except
they're fake news.
They're fake news.
Yeah, which we've known for a while, but now they just pissed me off. So
and we'll also share Delegate David Moon. Moonbat is really a good way just to remember who he is. Way left-wing delegate, has 10
the
reasons
kind of delegate
who
could only get elected in Montgomery County.
Right. 10 reasons to support Ben Jealous, which if you are, let's say, a conservative who's maybe on the fence about Governor Hogan, or you're not super excited about Governor Hogan,
David Moon,
this list will help convince you that Larry Hogan's the guy to vote for.
David Moon thinks these things are bugs.
They're features.
They're features, folks.
They're features.
They're features.
Absolutely.
So we have actually a comment, a question.
You get distracted.
We get a question.
Just don't look.
About why is Governor Hogan not supporting Kavanaugh?
He's running for governor. He doesn't have.
I don't
vote.
care. It's not an issue.
It's not an issue.
Not an issue in the governor's race. So let's talk about.
Have somebody. You should ask Tony Campbell if he's running for the U.S. Senate.
Tony Campbell,
even though he won't be able to vote either.
Presumably, assuming that everything goes well.
Presuming everything goes well, which I do, and I hope does.
I hope it. I always hope things go well, especially in the judicial arena. So let's now talk about campaign finance reform.
Too soon. So let's start with campaign finance.
Campaign finance data. And I had a couple of pieces over at redmaryland.com earlier this week talking about campaign finance data.
You did. Broke it down. Break it down.
Yeah.
Took the Sun a couple days to pick up with what you were.
Wasn't that something, by the way?
Isn't that something?
I had to laugh because both the Sun and the Post put out stories. Oh well, 94% of Governor Hogan's money is from in-state Maryland, and only 17% is from Maryland for Ben Jealous. And if you've been reading Red Maryland, you would have known that 2 days ago.
And I'm sure they did it independently. They didn't look it up. They did it on their own, but fine. But we had done it. We did it 2 days ago. Had done it. Sorry.
Had done it.
Bad English. We did it 2 days
ago. Frederick
ago.
County at all.
What? Okay. Yeah. We can talk about Frederick County because it's interesting what's going on up there. They're kind of neck and neck in fundraising. Kathy,
we'll talk about that momentarily. Who's not neck and neck in fundraising? That was Ben Jealous and
he is not.
Larry Hogan.
And there was some thought we knew the governor would probably do better. It was a question of how much. And wow,
indeed.
Wowie.
So Governor Hogan has, for those of you who have been under a rock the last few days, if you've been anywhere on the internet, I don't know how you would have missed this.
People go on vacation and turn it off. They're starting to come back now. They're going to listen to this.
So
listen.
Governor Hogan has $9.5 million cash on hand.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Basically, the money he spent the last period, the money he's raised last period, about $2 million. He spent that on ads, and he's got $9 million, which I think, I'm not in the campaign, probably enough to go wall to wall in every market in the state with TV ads from now till November.
I'm not certain about that either.
Pretty darn close if it's not.
Certainly the RGA has been doing a lot of the heavy lifting as far as that goes so far, because this is an important
the governor
race to them.
Spent a couple million. He spent $1 million in June while the primary was still going on. I think he spent another $1 million recently. Mm-hmm. So that was what he raised in the last reporting period, and he still has that $9.5 million thing. And that's pretty darn good. I think that's pretty good. I know they got another big ad binder going.
So
which doesn't mean he won't keep raising money.
The Jealous campaign did raise $1.5 million during the period, which is okay, but
they did start from so far behind.
They have $386,000 cash on hand.
So cash on hand, which is the money you have to spend, which is kind of the important statistic. The governor's ahead 24 to 1. 24 to 1.
Right.
And what's great is the Jealous camp. Well, Larry Hogan got outspent and he still won. Yeah, he got outspent 4 to 1.
Right.
Not 24 to 1.
Right.
But I think what's important in these numbers is not just the overall number, which is important, but these numbers are they're a measure of how popular a candidate is, how much people are believing they can win. People tend to support someone who they think is going to win, especially big money contributors and
a lot of the business people, people in Maryland, people who are not active in politics, they distribute their cash based on which way the wind's blowing.
Yeah, they do.
Their interest is not in the policy; it's in making sure that they're CYA. Okay,
right. And I think some big Democratic donors do that because they're in that they're kind of hedging their bets here a little bit.
But a lot of those big Democratic donors too, frankly, not only see the writing on the wall, but they also see Ben Jealous as a guy who's going to come in, wreck the economy, wreck the state, wreck everything that's going on around them, and they realize, you know what, we need to protect our phony baloney jobs here and protect our resources. That's
a subtext of this too. One of the reasons it's so low is because we've been saying this for a while. There is a full-blown civil war going on in the Maryland Democratic Party between the progressives and the establishment. The establishment does not want Ben Jealous to win.
No.
The progressives will occasionally say that.
Yes.
When
the truth comes out.
When you have, leaders coming to Central Committee meetings with chains talking about Mike Miller, and you have occasional tweets about how we've challenged the power structure and power is going to fight back. They're talking about their own party. They're talking about the Democratic Party, the establishment. Those guys don't want Ben Jealous to win. So some of them are flat out giving money to Hogan. They're allowing some of their donors to do that. That's where you start to get this huge disparity, especially when, as Brian's talked about and hinted at, when you look at donors from Maryland,
what few of them there are.
The governor's got 94% of his money's raised from people in Maryland.
Right. The people who live here, work here, die here, people who have connections here, people who actually give a rip about
I don't know
what's
where
going
they'll
on
end up
here.
dying, but they're here now. And they were here when they gave the money. Where Jealous can only do that for about 17% of his donors.
Right.
Okay.
There's
And
more
it's
donor-
funny,
there are
the
more
Sun
donors-
the Sun reports this and tries to cherry pick the stats a little bit. Well, the ones from Maryland give a little bit higher average. Doesn't matter. The point is, if it's a proxy for support,
Right.
the governor's even further ahead than just the bottom line dollar amount.
17% of the donors. And then, so you've only got 17% of the donors are actually from Maryland. And then you look at, who's given the money.
Right.
We're talking
Right.
about guys like, okay, so David Trone gave money. Okay. He was a campaign. He's candidate for Congress. We hope he
Right.
feels better, by the way. He recently diagnosed with cancer. Want to make sure we point that out. His family gave money from their personal account.
Okay.
The only state election campaign that gave him any money was Jim Shea.
Jim Shea.
Not Baker, not Madaleno,
Right.
not Ross,
Not Mike Miller.
not Mike Miller,
Not Mike Bush.
not any of his other opponents,
Right.
just Jim Shea.
And you had somebody from the congressional account of Elijah
From-
Cummings.
Right,
But
that's it.
again, not John Carden.
Not Ben Cardin, not
Right.
Chris Van Hollen,
Exactly. Not
Not
Dutch
Anthony-
Rupersberger.
not Anthony Brown.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
throwing
I
it
don't
out
think
there.
Anthony Brown, he could give him some money. I think he's paid off that loan that he got.
Are
but
you
it-
sure about that?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Maybe Ben Jealous should take a loan. That worked out so well for Brown.
Couldn't hurt. Couldn't hurt. Couldn't hurt.
You know what Ben Jealous
but-
should do? Hold on. No,
Go
I
ahead.
got it. Ben Jealous should go to that payday loan place he owns and get a loan from them.
Well, let's talk about that because that is something that came out as well. He likes to talk about how he's a venture capitalist. Well,
And by the way, this was a piece that was in the Sun today.
Yeah.
What I think
the Baltimore Sun,
was
the
supposed
tool of the corporatist right.
what I think was supposed to be a puff piece for Ben Jealous. Because we've talked about this, Greg. You've talked about it on the radio. We've talked about it on this show.
Yes,
The Sun is going to endorse Ben Jealous. Probably.
he's not going to make it easy for him, but yes,
Right. They are.
There's no question.
They are trying to make a case to endorse Ben Jealous.
Yeah,
The
they
Post
endorsed
is-
him in the primary.
The Post is not going to endorse Ben Jealous, probably.
I don't think so.
But the Sun is
I
going
think
to,
they're going to endorse it. We'll see.
And
But
the-
they
the-
don't like Ben Jealous. They haven't throughout.
and the Sun is going to do all sorts of gymnastics in order to make it okay to endorse Ben Jealous. So,
Yeah.
article in the Sun today goes on about something that Jealous has been talking about frequently, which is his venture capital career.
Right, because he's not a socialist. He's a venture capitalist. Okay, so what does he do as a venture capitalist?
Right. He invests in businesses. Okay.
Gathers capital for investment in businesses. Right.
So,
So what kind of businesses?
payday loan businesses.
I mean,
This
look,
is something, by the way, that Ben Jealous spoke out against payday loan businesses as
Right.
president of the NAACP.
Right.
As soon as he is on his own trying to make money, he is investing in payday loan businesses that rack up all sorts of fines and sanctions from the federal government.
I guess in a way, his work as a venture capitalist does conflict with the idea of him being some progressive socialist leader because the values aren't consistent. I guess that's the argument he's making. I'm not sure that's really what he wants to be doing.
I'm not sure this is working out as well as
It's not
as
what
they
he wanted
to do.
It's not what he meant to
Well,
do.
the whole puff piece was to buttress Jealous's
And by the way,
ideas.
payday loan companies, I'm sure, are very profitable.
Oh, of
That's the
course.
nature of them.
Generally, you have to be acting ethically
But-
profitable. Otherwise, you're paying large fines to the federal
Well,
government, like Ben Jealous's company
Well,
was.
there's that. Even that they're acting ethically, I'm sure.
So
they're
this puff piece was designed to kind of help buttress the argument that Jealous is a capitalist
Right.
and that he's not a socialist.
right. He's
but
a venture capitalist.
As the Jealous campaign has done the entire time since it became an issue,
Right.
is what Ben Jealous does for work is one thing. Ben Jealous's stated agenda, who he
Sure.
has supported for public office, is socialist.
And the agenda, we'll talk more about it, and we've gone through it a number of times. He's not promoting a capitalist, market-oriented approach.
Right.
You know, he's not cutting taxes. He's not reducing regulation. He's not talking about market-based solutions to things like healthcare or transportation.
Right.
He's big government, centralized government, government control and takeover of private enterprise, which sounds socialistic to me.
If it looks like a duck,
huge parts of
smells like a
the
duck.
health, huge parts of the economy, especially the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
And so that's where that comes from. But it's interesting when even the Baltimore Sun, who you would think would be kind of a friendly outlet to him, you know, in the old category, if you want to help, don't help, actually talks about his work as a venture capitalist. They kind of expose the fact that some of his work is kind of rubs against his progressive ideas or the progressive values that he's supposedly, because look, payday loans, especially those those companies that act in violation of the law and regulations, are viewed as incredibly predatory,
right,
racist, and to a racist extent by progressives, particularly Ben Jealous when he was head of the NAACP.
Right.
So it does kind of make you wonder, you know, if this is his evidence that he's not a socialist because he helped raise capital for these kinds of companies. I mean, it is kind of a head scratch.
Right. Now, of course, this partially plays into the fact of, like most things, if you're explaining, you're losing.
Right.
And Ben Jealous is losing bigly.
He is. So this week, bad numbers. So we had bad poll numbers last week, terrible poll numbers.
Right. Terrible fundraising numbers.
Horrible fundraising.
I do want to talk.
Now, let me ask you this, and I'll let you move on because I do want you. Which is worse, the poll results, where he says even his internals have him down 9, Gonzalez has him down 16, or the campaign finance results that have him down 24-1 cash on hand? Which is worse? And by the way, that includes, we should be clear, we've included all the related accounts. Brian's broken down the PAC support.
Yeah, that's under a separate file.
You look at the RGA, DGA. It's not. That's even worse.
Here's what the DGA is spending.
You know, so
the DGA.
We're looking at the global whatever,
right,
and it's bad.
The DGA, by the way, the DGA is not even supporting Jealous at this point on like Twitter or anything like that. They've completely abandoned him, which is hilarious. If you look to answer your question, Greg,
yes, which is worse in your mind?
In the short term, it's the campaign finance numbers.
Okay.
Because you can see that there's not a lot of financial support there, particularly the fact that nobody's supporting him from Maryland. But
very few.
The poll numbers will probably have the longer tail for a couple of reasons. One, because people are already basically writing off Ben Jealous. But secondly, nobody, particularly those businesses we talked about earlier,
right,
nobody wants to back a loser. Right. Nobody's going to want to give money to a Democrat who's losing by 17 points in a state that's 2-1 Democrat.
I think that's what you're saying in the campaign finance, which to my mind, I understand the point you're making, but the campaign finance is a killer. I mean, that's a stake through the heart. Number one, because that's worse news, because polls can change.
Right.
And you can manipulate polls a little bit, and you can move polls, and you can say things. You can't spend the campaign finance numbers. That's hard numbers. You can't spend money you do not have. And I think that solidifies even more than the guys, you know, if you're talking about donors making an investment in your campaign, which is really what they're doing, you have to show them that they can get some sort of return on it, presumably that you have some chance of winning. I think the campaign finance stuff puts the nail in the coffin more than even the polls.
And by the way,
the polls you can come back. The polls you can do math. The polls you can look at the lay of the land. The polls he's closer than he is in the money. The money's got no chance of even being within hailing distance.
No.
And
the Democrats,
and it's already show. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to. But if you're going to already invest, this shows that. Why am I going to invest? Nobody else is.
Well, yeah, exactly. Too, and that's it's kind of has a multiplier.
Yeah. It all works synergistically, but I think this is much worse news than the poll.
Yeah, and you can't buy your way out of that hole. Just for context's sake, though.
If you were a billionaire, you could, but Ben Jealous can't.
No. Just for context's sake, the Super PAC, the Maryland Together We Rise Super PAC, which has been supporting Jealous, only raised $400,000 in this period. It only raised $400,000 from 4 sources. Again, only one of which was from the state of Maryland. They raised $100,000 from the MSEA. I'm sure the teachers are real happy that they're funding that garbage right now.
Can we take a chance here? Just pause. The MSEA, labor unions have split in this election much more than they ever have. Usually they're solidly behind the Democrat. They were solidly behind Anthony Brown 4 years ago. There's this split that's going on. Trade unions, police unions, other kind of even public employee unions, the smaller ones, supporting Governor Hogan. He's cut into that. Again, I think it goes to the fact that they kind of like what he's doing, or they think he's going to win, or whatever. The teachers unions, the MSEA, has gone all in against Governor Hogan. They've completely blown up their bridges. They're the most anti-Hogan special interest that exists.
Yeah.
They've gone all in with Ben Jealous, even in the primary. The teachers unions have bet everything on beating Larry Hogan. They are going to be the biggest losers when Larry Hogan is reelected, because when he is reelected, and I'm starting to say when, maybe I shouldn't say that. If he is reelected, he will not only have no obligation to do anything for them, they are his most sworn enemy, and he will have completely vanquished them.
And oh, by
they
the
will
way,
have no
they will
play
be
with the go. And if he picks up the drive for 5, they're done.
Oh, and oh, by the way, okay, don't forget this too. And this is why the teachers union will be extremely impotent.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about with the governor. It's not that they're going to have any stroke with the governor. Is the fact that the teachers union endorsed Ben Jealous in the primary election.
Right.
The Democrats are in this position partially because the union, in their quest to be the leading progressive organization, is leading the Democratic Party over a cliff.
Yeah.
Do you think that the establishment Democrats, the Democrats who are actually going to have power in Annapolis, are going to forget that?
Some of them, obviously, they're on their side, but I think some of them, I mean, look, the lady who brought the chain to the Central Committee meeting, talking about Mike Miller, wasn't she the head of the local Prince George's County school teachers union?
Yes.
I mean, that's the kind of person maybe doesn't get a sit down with Mike Miller, or he gives him a wry look. I mean, look, what are they going to want from the next governor? They want funding for the Kerwin Commission stuff.
Right.
Who controls that? The governor.
Yeah.
The legislature can't add to it. I mean, they can try to mandate some stuff, of course, if the governor has a sustainable veto. That's
Mike Miller's not going to owe the teachers union a damn thing after this.
I mean, they are really this is burning your bridges behind you. This is going all in a way that they were already on the outside looking in. They were already openly hostile to. And here's the other thing. They used to be so powerful. If Governor Hogan can crush them with them being as against him as they can be, they've lost everything. They've lost an awful lot.
Yeah. At this point, it might be a good time for the teachers to launch a coup against their leadership, quite frankly.
Yeah, their leadership went all in. I mean, that's not rank and file teachers.
Nobody has rank and file teachers. That's the whole point. It's like,
this is a point we've made for a long time. And of course, you got Janice coming down, so they're gonna lose monetary support and members. They'll try to keep them and do other things. By the way, they're not going to have a governor in there who's going to help them do that, like they would have with Ben Jealous, to pass certain things to do that. So. The special interest has got the most to lose is the MSEA.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're giving this money to this PAC, but it's too little too late.
Right.
Unless they come up with $8 or $9 million real quick, it's not good.
And by the way, only 16% of the money that PAC has raised over the course of the campaign, $1.5 million, has come from Maryland. Most of it from the teachers union.
Teachers unions, right.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the other campaign finance numbers, Greg.
I think a few, because there's a lot going on.
The comptroller's race. If you thought that Larry Hogan had a big financial advantage,
right?
Look at what Peter Franchos got.
Yeah. How much does Ms. Foucan have?
$283.
$283. So, what it can do, and I know he gave some contributions to a lot of other Democrats. He can do that, and he'll probably end up the highest vote total maybe of any statewide elected official this time around.
It's pretty safe to say.
So
in the attorney general's race, Farage has a 10-1 lead on Craig Wolf, but Craig Wolf's got $165,000 in the bank.
It's tough. I mean, it's tough in that race.
But again, this is where the governor's 24-1 fundraising advantage comes into play, because this is where a rising tide can help lift the boats. I hope
still some work to do, but yeah,
I hope still
helps.
that I think we talked about this last week. I still want a debate between Craig Wolf and the attorney general.
Yeah.
I still want to see a poll.
Yeah.
What's going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I want to know.
We support him. He's a great candidate, and he's a great candidate for Republicans who want to get out and get excited about somebody. He's a great guy to get excited about.
Definitely. In the county, some of the county executive races, Steve Shue has almost $1 million in the bank.
They tried the Capitol, who you work for, tried to make it sound like, well, they raised about the same amount of money.
No, they did raise about the same amount of money
from in the last few months. Yeah.
Right.
But he's got this huge pile of money that Steve Shue's sitting. And by the way, Steve Shue making a lot of donations to other Republicans.
2022 is not far away, kids.
Well, he said he doesn't want to run for governor.
2022 is not far away, kids.
Looked me right in the eye and told me I don't want to run for governor.
2022.
I didn't believe it. I didn't believe
away,
you then,
kids.
Steve. I'm not holding you to it. Don't worry. Don't worry. And I'm sure all those people you're helping appreciate what
hilariously, by the way, Stuart Pittman, the Democratic
right.
Cannon fodder for county executive, has about the same amount of money in the bank Ben Jealous does.
Right. Oh, and Johnny O up in Baltimore County has more money than the candidate for governor has.
Yeah, Johnny O's got about $500,000. A lot of that, I think, was a transfer from somewhere else. I think he got a legal transfer. I'm not sure where it was from.
But that's still, that's.
And Al Redber's got about 115 in the bank.
That's another race where you're going to need the governor with some coattails to get you competitive. That's a tough race for Republicans to win. The attorney general is a tough. Those races are more kind of what you traditionally have with Republicans. Can Governor Hogan, the positive that he can do and the drag that Jealous is, does that help? That I'm sure it makes it closer.
The issue that
I'd like to see some polls in that race too.
The issue that we're going to fight is
people try to say the Anne Arundel. Yeah, people try. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, and I apologize. I'm sorry. People say the Anne Arundel County executive race is close. I've heard people say that.
I don't know who these people are.
I've seen it online. Maybe even somebody who's a former contributor to our blog, mistakenly years ago. But I don't get it. I don't
either. Until I see a poll that has them within single digits.
By the way, the governor spent nearly $150,000 on polling. And we're not privy to any of it.
No, we're not seeing any of that.
Because I would love to see it. Sorry, I interrupted.
But, I thought the race was going to be close last time, and Steve Shue blew George Johnson out of the water.
Yeah. Well, you'd expect if the governor gets, what's the governor expected to get, 70% here?
He might get more.
It's kind of hard to think that Steve Shue doesn't do. If he underperforms the governor, how much could he underperform the governor? Even if he underperforms him 15 points, he wins pretty easily.
We've seen it before where Republicans.
And I don't think he would do that.
Republicans carry the governor's race in Anne Arundel County, but we lose the county executive race. But that was a different time, different era. That's like when Janet Owens won in 2002.
But
she was an incumbent, and she wasn't nearly as far left as a guy like Stuart Pittman, who was the darling of the Indivisibles and the Wises and all of the other lunatic left, type folks out there.
Yeah, I hear people say that, and I don't know what they're getting that from.
I don't know.
Look, there's a constituency, and I'm sure this is true in other counties as well. There's a Democratic constituency in Anne Arundel County.
Of course.
That's 35-40% maybe.
Right.
That they're always going to get. They're the NIMBYs and the environmentalists and the, just general lefty Democrats, like you say, the Wises and those kind of people. But it's hard to break through. You need Democrats that are, I don't know. This is a county definitely where Jealous is a drag.
Oh,
down
definitely.
ballot.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially in some of those places like, District 32, when you look at the Senate race, District 2, the county council race, you get.
We're going to need help. I haven't looked at the fundraising numbers. I know Greg Giangrande is doing very, very well fundraising.
Christian Miele is doing very well. Ron George is way ahead of Sarah Elfreth.
I think Ron George is. He's solid. He's probably gonna be top of the pledge class of the Drive for Five. I think him and Mary Beth.
I hope so.
Him and Mary Beth are probably gonna.
Mary Beth and Jim Mathias are just raising just boatload. I don't know. I tell you the truth. I do not know how they're gonna spend all that money in that district. I mean, serious. I'm dead serious.
I'm channeling Mike Bradley. There's radio time available, guys. There's radio ads available.
Maybe they can buy enough time that you can get a check from.
By the way,
guys.
no. By the way, I love being on WGMD. One of the things I love about WGMD is listening to the ads. It's great. They're great. They have some hilarious ads. You think you think I'm from Frederick County? Listen to some of those.
You want to
ads
talk about the Frederick
including
County executive
candidates.
race, by the way, because those numbers are tight.
It's close. Jan Gardner, and Kathy Abzali is raising money to be competitive. This third party guy is an also ran. It's got, which is what you'd expect considering some of the people around him who think you don't need money to run for elections.
Kirby DeLauder.
Which is why they never win. But it's competitive. I'd like to see some polls up there too. That's a bellwether.
Yes.
Okay. That's a county. Governor Hogan's going to do very well. Is that enough to get a countywide person across? Is
find
enough
out.
to get, they have countywide county council races. Our friend Phil Dacey is running up there. They should. That'll be the strength of the party. Of course, our friend Mike Huff has tons of money.
Right. Oh, by the way, one last thing I want to talk about campaign finance-wise before we go to break, and that's Montgomery County executive race. Because you would be shocked to learn that the guy who has the least amount of cash on hand is the Democratic nominee for county executive.
Is that? I thought he had a bunch of his own money or something.
No, that was David Blair. Who put $5 million in the primary and lost.
Oh, gotcha.
If I read the numbers correctly, Elrich has $133,000 cash on hand.
That's not enough to run a campaign in that county.
Robin Ficker has $230,000
He's
cash
got some
on
public
hand.
financing.
Both those guys are public financing.
Right.
And then, what's her name?
Nancy Florine.
Nancy Florine, who's just the independent in the race,
right,
leads the way. She raised $300,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
We were talking a couple weeks ago. Hey, if Florine gets on the ballot, this could get interesting.
Well, there've been some people who've done the
Folks,
numbers.
It could get interesting.
But if it's really competitive between the two Democrats, if they really split that vote, God, can you imagine?
And by the way, if Larry Hogan gets 40% of the vote in Montgomery County, and there is a chance he could help with the coattails and drag Robin Ficker across the line.
This is where the Gonzalez poll has a big red flag in it.
I agree.
Hogan's doing very poorly in Montgomery County. He can still win statewide, and it doesn't matter. But that's a big
we want to make sure
that's a county with the most progressive, the most intense Democratic lobbying and campaigning.
Right.
That's not now. If I were the Ben Jealous campaign, I'd look at that and say, look, if we get the resources, we can get those kind of results. He doesn't have them, so it doesn't matter. But
they can try to run up the score there if they were smart. But
we got a lot of friends in Montgomery County. You got some work to do. That scares
just get one, guys. Just get one.
That scares me because you could have a big night for Republicans, and Montgomery County still gets skunked. That's not going to be a good look on you guys.
No, it's not.
So
why don't we go ahead and take a break?
Let's take a break.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the real news.
You can't see air quotes on it, but you can see it Facebook Live.
We'll also talk about
Facebook.com/Red Maryland.
We'll also talk about Ben Jealous not being able to do math.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about David Moon's list of reasons not to vote for Larry Hogan, which again, you will find is probably pretty good reasons to vote for Larry Hogan.
That's right.
Stick with us. You're listening to Red Maryland Radio on the Red Maryland Network.
You're invited to the first Red Maryland Leadership Conference on Saturday, January 26, 2019 at the Doubletree Hotel in Annapolis. Join conservatives from across the state to discuss the future of conservatism in Maryland and to develop strong, principled conservative leaders for the future. This will be an affordable all-day event featuring speakers from across the country discussing politics, ideas, and how to build a conservative majority in Maryland. Sponsorship opportunities are available. To secure your seat for this conference, visit redmarylandconference.com and purchase your ticket today.
You can help Red Maryland grow our reach when you visit redmaryland.com and click on the Amazon link and shop as normal. A portion of your purchase will come back to Red Maryland to help us grow. Additionally, you can buy Red Maryland t-shirts, drinkware, and other gear from our Zazzle store at zazzle.com/Red Maryland. We want to hear from you. Email us at any time at redmaryland@gmail.com. You can also leave audio feedback on our Red Maryland talkback line at 410-205-4875. We might use your feedback on our programming. You are listening to Maryland's most trusted conservative voice, the Red Maryland Network. Be sure to follow Red Maryland on all of the major social networking sites. You can follow us at Red Maryland on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Google+, Snapchat, and Tumblr to get the latest from Red Maryland. And be sure to follow the home base for all things Red Maryland, redmaryland.com. Celebrating 5 years as Maryland's only network that matters. You're listening to the Red Maryland Network.
Okay, Dwayne, we're going to try it once more. Just remember now, introduce yourself and read what's on the paper in front of you. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, fine. Dwayne Stomp, Substance Abuse Awareness Campaign. This is take 9. Dwayne, that's your cue.
Oh, right. Anytime you're ready.
We're ready, Dwayne. Dwayne, go.
Oh, hi. This is Dwayne Stomp of Blacktooth. Kids, when you drink and drive.
No, Dwayne. No, cut. It's not when you drink and drive.
Oh, right. Let me do it again.
Yeah, good idea. This is Dwayne Stomp, PSA, take 10.
Hi, this is Dwayne Stomp. When I drink and drive, I'll...
Cut, Dwayne. Dwayne, this spot is supposed to be against driving while intoxicated.
What?
Never mind. We'll do it one more time. And remember, say, don't do drugs. And if you must drink this holiday weekend, don't drive. You got it?
I told you I got it.
Fine. Dwayne Stomp, PSA, take, 11.
Hi, I'm Dwayne Stomp telling you, if you do drugs this weekend, don't drive.
Wrong again, Dwayne. It's don't do drugs. Don't do drugs.
That's what I said.
No, it's not. It's not even close to what you said.
You come in this booth, I'll show you how close it was, Sherlock.
I'm going to do it again, Dwayne. Say, don't do drugs. If you must drink this holiday weekend, do not drive. Take 12.
This is Dwayne Stomp. Weekends are for drunks. Do drugs.
Okay, Dwayne, thank you very much for coming in. I think with a little editing, we've got something we can use.
Don't do drugs. And if you must drink this holiday weekend, don't drive.
Zwoele zomerhits.
Klopvaste actua.
De leukste cadeaus. Doe maar.
The sound of summer.
And we're back. Red Maryland Radio on the Red Maryland Network. I am Brian. He is Greg.
Good to be here.
And if you do drink and drive this holiday weekend, Greg, what's that number?
410-541-6384. You want me to get the sign?
Oh, we should have done that.
We should have done that.
We should have done that. Oh, well. That would require planning on our part.
Well,
and that would
it's
be
right
nutty.
there. You could still get it.
I could. Do you want me to?
No, not now.
Okay.
Now you've made a big thing out of it. I don't want you to do it now. I mean, you know, I could play a little bit more of the song here while you're doing that. So that number, if you're singing, 410-541-63. Why isn't that just the background for the show?
Because that would require planning, Greg.
Okay, thank you. Your job is done. Thank you. You could read that. See, that's a sign you could read. People looking at this thing, which we love, which is great. Actually, just grab that so we can get a little closer to the camera. Take it out of the thing.
Oh, well, you've got it attached.
Never mind. Never mind. This is why we don't do video, people. This is why we don't do. You're watching. Oh, now you got it.
Now that the moment has passed,
See?
I've got it.
RedMarylandConference.com. That's what you want right there. Okay? Contact information. See it? See it? Conservatives written a lot there. There's your date. There you go.
It actually looked better there for a while because my face was totally obscured.
I wasn't going to say that. Anyway,
speaking of things that are poorly planned,
fake news.
Yeah, let's talk about some fake news. So
Fake news.
there's this news outlet
These guys
called The Real News. Okay,
The Real News.
now it's a Canadian-based outfit with a
Boo.
Baltimore office.
Right.
That is just
Don't
full
trust them.
of radical. One of the founding members worked for Hugo Chavez. Okay,
How'd that work out?
just saying.
We're not socialists.
Yeah, not socialists. We just work for communists, ones who kill people frequently.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have the whole story at redmaryland.com.
You really broke it down.
Yeah, we
Because
broke
these
it-
guys, and I don't know, I'll let you lead into it.
Sure. Because these guys are just nonsense. This guy, the reporter's name, I don't even remember his name now. It's in the story.
This guy.
He got a sad. Oh, Jaisal Noor, which I may or may not be
You
pronouncing
overuse that
correctly.
expression, by the way. Go ahead.
I overuse what expression?
A sad. You overuse it.
I do use this expression, but he had a sad about Governor Hogan calling The Real News fake news.
Right. Right.
Which
Yes.
I go into
wanna
great
play the
detail
video?
at redmaryland.com about why they're fake news because of their board and some of the places this guy worked for. And oh,
Right.
by the way, Mr. Noor is on video. We have the video at redmaryland.com. Basically,
a brilliantly edited video.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griffiths.
Basically saying, yeah, we're in the bag for Ben Jealous, and we're
Yeah.
going to we'll play the clip in a minute.
Yeah.
But this is the video they posted. I guess it was yesterday.
Right.
Where he just gets his pants in a bunch about the governor calling them fake news. I don't know
Right.
where this
This
video
is-
was filmed.
This is some event for the governor. There's tons of people. And the governor is very gracious. People put a microphone. He knows who they are. He's not sure who they are. He does an interview. He talks to us. He talks to anybody.
Right.
Okay. He's the governor. So he's being interviewed by this Canadian.
Well, he's
whatever.
allegedly from Baltimore. At least that's what his Twitter. feed
Allegedly, whatever, for this outfit. The real.
He's
He's
paid by an outfit run by Hugo Chavez sympathizers.
So he's interviewing the governor. This is his big gotcha video of the governor. So you listen to it and let me know when you hear the gotcha of the governor. I like the spooky background music, like it's
right.
like it's one of those
By the way,
found footage movie.
I like
things.
how they stay put. It's everything.
There's a link at Red Maryland if you want to watch.
Everything's at lowercase except the word real, because basically if you shout it, it makes it true. Just look at Twitter.
Before becoming the governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan served on the board of the Maryland Public Policy Institute.
Ooh. MPPI is a great outfit, by the way, but not to hear this guy tell it.
A conservative think tank that opposes funding for public transit and sees.
Yes, they're opposed to all public transit at all time. Meanwhile, they show an article about how Maryland transit spending no bang for the buck. Something we've said for years at redmaryland.com.
Right.
Betsy DeVos's disastrous education reforms in Michigan.
By the way,
as
it's this and the article that they show during that talking about Betsy DeVos is about a charter school article from 7 years ago that doesn't at all reference Betsy DeVos or Michigan.
Written by an old friend of ours, Marta
Mossberg,
Mossberg,
who's now in Tennessee doing morning radio, by the way.
Yeah, who's hardly some hardcore right winger.
No.
As a model for Maryland. The Institute is part of a web of groups that opposes unions, worker protections, and environmental regulations.
A web. Because it's the Koch brothers.
That investigative reports have found are secretly backed by the Koch donor network.
I like, by the way, how they then link an article. There's no idea where this article came from. Just dark money push their agenda.
So I asked Hogan, who's doing well in the polls in a state
Doing
Democrats
well
outnumber
in the polls. He's killing
Doing
them.
well in the polls. Now we'll get back to this because this guy's raison d'etre is why this piece is the way it is. So there's the setup, and this is the big gotcha because he set it up. MPPI, Maryland Public Policy Institute, secretly funded by the Koch brothers.
Right.
Ooh.
Republicans 2-1. If it's fair for him to call himself a moderate when he is.
If it's fair for him, as opposed to what? By the way, to all of our Trump friends out there, all of our gun friends who think he's, what should he call himself other than a moderate, do you think?
Ties to a group that pushes an extreme agenda, some of which he supports.
No, you're
Some of which,
yourself as a
some of
I
which
support
he
all of it.
supports.
By the way, MPPI's agenda, I support all of it.
Yeah.
moderate. You've distanced yourself from Donald Trump, but you're also a member of the Maryland Public
By the
Policy
way,
Institute.
also here.
By
The
the way,
look
the
on the
governor
governor's
knows-
face right
yeah.
here is like, this guy is so
He's like,
full
"You-
of shit.
I know what your game is there, fella.
Yeah.
It's part of the State Policy Network, which is funded by the Koch brothers. Do you think you're really?
I love that look. I love he just closed his eyes and shook it. The videos at redmaryland.com.
He's almost like has that Red from that 70s show look right there where he just wants to say, dumbass.
He wants to. He's too disciplined to do it. But you're right. That's exactly what he wants.
I'm not a member of it. I used to be on the board years ago.
Okay. Now keep that in mind because they're gonna debunk the fact that he used to be on the board. Keep that in mind.
No, and the Koch brothers had absolutely nothing to do with it. So
You're
the real news is
president.
So he's dismissing them by saying the real news is pretty fake news because they're saying he's on the board. He's not. And he's saying it was funded by the Koch brothers. And he said the Koch brothers, which, by the way, governor loves the Koch brothers. Who cares? I mean, it's not a gotcha anyway.
You're president.
It's not true.
You're president.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the Koch brothers being associated with that. But I know about your group though.
And I bet he does. I bet he does.
You can hear me begin to say,
And then there's the
President
trooper
Mayor,
who's like,
The trooper's like, used to stand over there, my friend.
Yeah.
There's your moment.
but he's actually Director Emeritus of the Maryland Public Policy Institute.
He's a director emeritus. Now, what is a director emeritus? Someone who used to be on the board of directors,
right?
Which is exactly what the governor said. Literally what the governor said.
And by the way, when was this screen capture taken? Because it lists the Honorable Robert L. Ehrlich Jr.,
Right.
but not the Honorable Lawrence J. Hogan Jr., which
Right.
is the official title that,
Yeah.
the honorific that the governor is entitled to.
They make it sound like, and I love, because we've seen this in videos before. He's the director. I mean, he's not the director. He's a director emeritus. There's a board of directors.
Larry
he was
Hogan
on it.
was on a board of directors once.
Yeah, and so what if he was on? It's good that he was on the MPPI board,
which has been called the policy arm of the Hogan administration. Hogan called my question fake news.
I thought that was Red Maryland.
But here's what we do know. The Institute wouldn't tell us who their donors are.
Okay.
But according to tax records obtained by Conservative Transparency, their leading donors through 2014, which covers the period Hogan served on their board, is Donors Capital Fund, which has been called the dark money ATM of the conservative movement. Another major funder is State Policy Network, who, according to a report by the Center for Media and Democracy,
Because that
is
sounds
funded
like
by the Koch donor
that
network.
sounds like a legit group.
By the way, who is this targeted towards? I mean,
On top of that, an adjunct staffer at the Institute, Wendell Cox, is the former legislative director of ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, another arm of the Koch network, which pushes corporate-friendly and anti-worker model legislation
Anti-worker.
in state houses across the country. The Kochs gave the maximum amount to Hogan's 2018 campaign, and Politico reported their voter data contributed to his stunning 2014 victory. Liberals
What?
have
okay, so they helped him win. Good.
their wealthy
Okay.
donors too. George Soros gave the maximum allowed donation to Hogan's opponent.
Right.
So did Tom Steyer.
But that's
by the way.
that's okay.
That's okay. That's cool.
The left-wing dark money, fine. The right-wing dark money
Ooh.
from guys who are actually kind of libertarian, not even conservative, really.
But investigative journalists like Jane Mayer have chronicled the outsized influence the Kochs and their allies have on U.S. politics. And while Hogan decried my question as fake news, he hasn't opposed deceptively edited Republican Governor Association ads targeting his opponent, Ben Jealous.
Hold on. Time out. Deceptively edited, saying
We know what he's saying.
Yeah,
we know what the argument is there. By the way, the governor doesn't have anything to do with those ads, so
Right.
he wouldn't dispute them anyway. You know, call me a socialist if you want. Period. I'm a venture capitalist. If you stop at the period, is that deceptive? Fine. But you can see the bent that's going on.
Call me a socialist.
If you keep playing the tape, Jealous was actually saying he's not a
Now,
socialist.
let's time out for a second.
Change the fact I'm a venture capitalist.
This is and this is the funny thing. Now the video just goes to this other verbal safari.
Right.
That is not even related to what the governor said in the first place.
Right. Here's where he curses out the reporter. You've heard this.
Some have questioned why Jealous is so defensive about being called a socialist in the first place.
Right.
Not to put a fine point on it, but do you identify with the term socialist?
Are you fucking kidding me? Is that
I like how he leaves it in unedited.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
final point?
In Maryland, Democrats outnumber Republicans 2-1.
Yes, that's true.
And according to a new Gallup poll, a majority of Democrats nationally have a more positive view of socialism and a negative view of capitalism.
Have more of
but
a
that hasn't
positive view
stopped
of
the
socialism.
Republican Governors Association from running ads like this.
Jealous is too extreme for Maryland.
The Kochs oppose regulations on healthcare,
which
as do pharmaceuticals.
Again,
what is the point they're trying to make?
I don't
like
know.
Hogan's running a bad campaign. I don't think that's. I don't know. I don't know the point they're trying to make here.
And insurance companies who donated over $300,000 to help air ads like this.
A nonpartisan analysis says his health care plan alone could cost an extra $2,800 from every man, woman, and child.
They don't mention this would cut what the average Maryland resident spends on health care by half.
Because it wouldn't.
Yeah,
that's why they
it
don't
wouldn't.
mention
That would require lying, which you guys at the real news are good
Polls
at.
show that majorities of Maryland Democrats embrace single-payer health care.
But again, now, this is the thing. Democrats. All he was talking about is Democrats.
Right. So Ben Jealous is winning in the polls. So these
if you
ads are helping
if
Ben
you believe
Jealous.
this jagoff, yeah.
$15 minimum wage and even a jobs guarantee.
You have a lot of people that need jobs.
Ben Jealous will probably win the Democratic vote. Yes. What's your point? That he still lose. They're not all Democrats in the state. There are a lot of Democrats, but if the governor gets a third of them and everybody else, he still wins.
Need jobs bad.
So what do you think about a policy that would say anyone that can't get a job in the private sector, the state will give them a job, a living wage, so they don't have to,
Time out for a second. Let's
I think that would be socialism.
Let's break that sentence down for a second. What do you say if the state gives everybody who can't find a job, a living wage?
Right.
Which is not what a living wage is. This dumbass doesn't even know what he's talking about. He's talking about guaranteed employment, or at the very least, a universal basic income.
That's what he's talking about. Yeah.
But he's calling it a living wage because he's
using those terms. You're missing the point. This is a socialistic website,
right?
That is pushing a socialist agenda,
and trying to ask why people don't like socialism.
And they're convinced that that somehow Larry Hogan's fooling everyone. But if they only knew the truth, they would get it out. This is the mindset. And by the way, when they lose, that's what they're going to say.
Right.
Sell drugs or commit crimes. Would you support that?
I support that. Because you need.
So Ben Jealous supports that.
Many analysts.
Whoa! Does he? Does Ben Jealous support that's news to me. I think we just broke some news here.
Yeah.
Ben Jealous supports a.
Also, by the way, let's talk about deceptively editing things. Because Ben Jealous supports that immediate cut,
right?
Without any context, without even didn't even identify who this person was wearing a Hogan T-shirt.
Right. It was a large African American gentleman. How many other people did they interview that he asked the same thing, and they used that one?
Who says that it wasn't a plant?
Sure.
I mean, predict a blue wave against Republicans, sparked by Donald Trump's presidency, which Hogan predicts he can harness.
The good news is that I know how to surf, and 68% of all the Democrats in Maryland support my candidacy. And so if there's a wave of Democrats coming out, they're going to be voting for me.
While Hogan touts his support among Democrats, the vast majority of elected Democrats have endorsed Jealous.
Which is not accurate either.
Is it a vast majority?
No.
I'm not sure about it. He just says that.
He just says it because he's fake news and is just making stuff up.
And by the way, the vast majority of Democrats endorse the Democratic candidate over the Republican. That's not new. That's what should happen.
Right.
And critics say Hogan's policies are more similar to those backed by Trump and the Kochs than he'd like to admit.
You hear that?
And now we
hear that, all you Republicans who don't like the governor? Do you hear that?
In the next clip, you will hear Brooke Learman, who actually tried to raise taxes on poor people, by creating a bag tax that would force poor people to pay a larger percentage of their income to buy groceries.
Much of what Governor Hogan has done on substance hasn't really been too different from what Donald Trump has done, in terms of vetoing paid sick.
Only a moron could say that.
You hear that?
Leave, an incredibly important bill to make sure that that all workers in Maryland have the chance to earn sick days. That's something that Governor Hogan vetoed, and we had to override his veto. Clean energy. We passed a really important clean energy bill 3 years ago that Governor Hogan vetoed. That would increase the amount of renewable energy that we're using here in Maryland.
By the way, another reason why we need the Drive for Five, so we can stop people like this.
Governor Hogan vetoed that. So in terms of a war on workers and a war on the environment, Governor Hogan's doing that.
You hear that, you conservatives? He's no different than Donald Trump, and he's got a war on workers and the environment. Why aren't you, come on.
Yeah.
Who are you complaining is too much? He can't call himself a moderate. He's a Coke stooge.
He's waging those battles here in Maryland as well.
And while Jealous' platform is more akin to FDR's New Deal,
how much cocaine do you have to do to come up with that conclusion?
Let's just say stuff.
Yeah.
Hogan's governorship has included some cuts to those same institutions.
When you are taking an absolute hammer to our transportation system, and
this is the red line. The red line was a boondoggle. It was hideously expensive. The governor made a cost-benefit analysis, went against it. So it's the same. By the way, all of these lines of attack have been made against the governor for years.
Yeah.
All this stuff.
They think they're breaking new ground, but they're really not. All they're doing is just
this is all baked into those
old
those
arguments
numbers.
and lying about them.
And their assumption is that if people really knew the real news, they change their mind. They know it. We've heard all this before.
That's why he's
the governor.
winning.
Right. The governor's not fooling anybody. He's not hiding who he really is. And by the way, he's got 24 times as much money as Jealous. So if he was, he'd be able to keep hidden. Trust me.
Ben Jealous could have a cure for cancer right now, and nobody would ever know about it because he owns the money to
$3
buy a
billion
commercial.
investment in high-speed east-west transit. That's not
High
being a
speed,
moderate.
It's a light rail.
While the media is focused on a recent high-profile spat.
By the way, the Kochs don't like Donald Trump. Wait a minute. How are they going to spin this exactly?
Right.
Between the Kochs and Trump, they continue to work together to reduce taxes for the wealthy and gut environmental regulations.
Year-and-a-half-old
And
story.
while there aren't direct links between Hogan and the Kochs,
Yeah,
he
there are.
supports
And by the way, even though there aren't direct links between the Kochs and Hogan, at the end of the
some of the policies that are at the heart of their agenda and of Donald Trump's. It remains
Donald
to be
Trump
seen what
doesn't give a
impact that
damn
will
about
have
a
in the deeply blue state
transit
in November.
system.
basically what he's saying is because Hogan wants more of a balance in transportation between public and surface transportation, he's a Koch stooge and he's Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
November, where the Republican governor.
You wonder why they're
is deeply
losing. It's
popular.
this mentality.
I hope that this guy Noor goes back to whatever
But anyway,
school he went to and demands a refund.
But anyway, let's
play this other video.
Let's finish it up because this is the video of this guy.
Well, hold on, that's not the actual video. First off, by the way, this guy who was attacking the governor is a huge fan of people like Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden.
Right. Yeah.
So we're talking about somebody who has adopted an anti-American agenda.
The guy who just did that video, who interviewed the governor, who says he's not fake news. This is his raison d'etre. This is filmed. We got this. I guess they put it up their website, right?
I was able to find it.
He was able to find it, and this is him at a Jealous campaign event. This is what he's telling people at the campaign event.
It's true, and I think that's a big reason why Hogan remains popular is because there hasn't been a lot of in-depth reporting about his record and really kind of examining it. So we're gonna be doing that in the next few months and really digging into his record. So it was great speaking to you. Yeah.
Great meeting you.
Thank
Keep
you.
up the good work.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank
and
you.
the camera work too.
Thanks.
So that was filmed in June. So his goal is to expose the real over the next few months. Well, we're in almost September. How's he doing?
Not so much. How's that working out for you?
So
Actually, keep doing what you're doing because it's working perfectly.
This is a Bernie bro, left wing, stooge who's trying to do the same old thing and trying to make hay out of the fact the governor called him fake news. He is fake news.
He's fake news. That's the thing. People are going to come back and say, well, you guys are biased. Well,
yeah,
no kidding. We actually tell people, hey,
yeah,
this is what we do. We are.
Yeah,
we have an agenda. It's called winning. It's called conservatism. And I, if the real news, and look, we have a video on there where the real news admits their bias. That's the funny thing is that
go check that piece out. RedMaryland.com.
Jabroni is trying to say, get mad that they're fake news, that governor's calling them fake news. Well, they are. They admit that they are a left-wing outlet that's just going to spew whatever they want to, whatever they want to in order to prop up socialism,
right? And
by the way, destroy our economy and to put people out of work.
Look, all the things they're saying about the governor. This is why the progressives in the state are losing. They live in a bubble, and they're convinced that if everybody just knew the truth that only they know, that they'd all vote a certain way. It doesn't enter their mindset that people might disagree with their point of view, that people might actually like the way the governor's doing things. That people don't actually.
Which you would think if they could read a poll over the last 3 years.
But they think that's all fake. They think that the governor's popularity is just personal. It has nothing to do with policy, which they ignore the right track, wrong track stuff, which contradicts that.
Right.
They think that again. And this, you hear this from the Jealous campaign too. Once people know the truth about Larry Hogan has 100% Q rating. He has 100%
there are a lot of people who still
voter
don't know
ID.
who Ben Jealous is, and those who do know who Ben Jealous is think he's a socialist.
Yeah. Well, and the governor's been able to define him because people don't know who he is.
Right.
Besides that, but the point is, and there's also a comment. Well, the media isn't. This is what he said to this group in this video that Brian put up here from June. Oh, the media is just not. You don't think the Baltimore Sun is raking Larry Hogan over the
coals long knives
constantly?
out for Larry Hogan since before he was even the Republican nominee.
They live in this bizarro world where they think that Larry Hogan is somehow getting a free pass from the media on everything he does, and can hide the fact that deep down he's a Trump Republican. Okay, now look, if you're a Trump Republican, you think he's not Trump enough. I mean, maybe this makes you feel a little bit better. But the point is, it's nonsense. It's why they're losing in Maryland.
Yes.
It's why Larry Hogan is running circles around them.
Yes.
Because they're in this bubble, and as Brian pointed out, in the video, he's only talking about Democrats. Like the only people in Maryland are Democrats.
Right.
Okay. And yes, Democrats are more tolerant of socialism than in the past, but it's still a minority.
Right.
So a minority of Democrats in Maryland is not enough to get elected governor.
No, it's just nuts.
And that's what the polls show.
And what jabronis like this Noor guy doesn't understand is that the reason why Ben Jealous is losing is for reasons like his inability to do math with his prison program. And let's talk about that for a little bit here for a second. Our friends over at the Maryland Reporter did a story talking about you just clicked the link we just did. Just did a story talking about his prison reform program. It's the other one on top. And that he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Headline, Len Lazarick, official estimates don't back up Jealous figures on prison savings. Reducing mass incarceration and the number of inmates in Maryland's prison has been a key element of Ben Jealous's Democratic campaign for governor from the start. By reducing the prison population by 30% over 10 years. Let's talk about that for a second.
Right.
Releasing 30% of the inmates back into free society regardless of whether or not they should be in prison or not. But just an overall number. It's supposed to actually talk about real criminal justice reform. He just wants to open the gates and let everybody out, basically.
Right.
He says we can, quote, save $660 million a year and use that money for education and other programs. The campaign trail, Hogan has been pushing back. He told a crowd that Jealous wants to cut public safety budget in half, release thousands of violent criminals, and fire thousands of public safety officers. True. Jealous is the detailed 26-page plan for criminal justice reform. Official estimates for savings by reducing Maryland's prison population do not come close to the numbers Jealous uses. The total budget for the Department of Public Safety and Public Correction this year is $1.4 billion. For the Division of Correction, which runs prison, is $775 million. The only backing for the number Jealous uses is a 2016 Washington Post opinion piece by a policy council for the American Civil Liberties Union. They say that estimate came from the Public Safety Performance Project of the Pew Charitable Trust. None of this actual real data. And then it goes into the Justice Reinvestment Act, which says on the fiscal note of the Justice Reinvestment Act, the legislative analysis estimated that the net savings from that act would be $47 million over the next 8 years, reducing the number of inmates by 25%, more than the Jealous platform says it will achieve.
Right.
Much of the savings from reducing the inmate population are plowed back in the prison system by the provisions in the act. So basically,
addiction treatment, education, counseling, stuff like that.
Now, the governor, of course, says
which is real criminal justice reform that we've enacted.
The governor points out it's just far left nonsense, which is true. Governor says, and I support it and sponsored and pushed through the first criminal justice reform in Maryland in decades. We've lowered sentencing for possession, doubled the number of treatment beds, lowered our prison population. We're number one in the country. We've already gotten rid of most of the prisoners that would be under those descriptions.
Yeah.
Jealous goes around talking about mass incarceration, but we have the best record in America. It's a problem. It's just far left.
This is true.
Nonsense.
This is one of the things. I mean, the incarceration rate in Maryland has been going down, is going down. You reduce 30% of the prison population in Maryland, you necessarily have to release thousands of violent offenders.
Right.
There's no 30% of, the days of, if it ever existed, the days of 30% being, kids who smoked marijuana once in jail. If that ever was the case, which I don't think it ever was, it hasn't been for a long time and isn't now.
Right.
These are not non-violent offenders. These are violent offenders that you're going to have to let out. And let's be honest, in Maryland, to get in jail, you usually have to commit a couple of crimes.
Right.
Okay. Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
As an attorney.
What's that number
just so
again?
I'm clear. 410-541-6384. The average violent criminal who's some of the mandatory stuff that they want to get from some of the really violent ones have 8, 9 contacts with the criminal justice system. I mean, it is nonsense what Ben Jealous is proposing. It's not surprising that the numbers don't come anywhere close to the savings he wants.
And I think that's the ultimate key about this story. It's not necessarily about his justice proposals or anything like that. It's the fact that Jealous just wings it and hopes nobody notices. He says a lot of things that sound nice to his constituency, his far left constituency.
Right.
But he doesn't understand.
The guys at the Real News believe his numbers.
He doesn't
Don't
understand.
they know that if you have fewer people in jail, I don't know, they'll come up with something.
But the thing is the fact that every criminal justice reform the governor has done, Ben Jealous has been off doing something else. Whether it's getting arrested on Capitol Hill or talking about national issues or something for Bernie Sanders, everything that's gone on in Maryland during the Hogan administration, Jealous has been mostly checked out for it.
Well, that's true. And even the stuff he takes credit for, you have Maryland Democrats look at him like,
no, you
did that?
Yeah.
You have O'Malley and actual legislators say, oh, wow, I didn't know you did that. I thought we were doing that.
Yeah. I mean, seriously.
Yes. Anyway, so those numbers don't add up. So let's just tick it down here. We've got single payer health care that's going to cost thousands of dollars for each man, woman, and child in higher taxes.
Right.
And it's probably going to drive doctors out of the state and all kinds of, it would be a disaster. Okay. We got that. Going to bust the state budget. You've got educational program, increased spending. He wants to legalize drugs to do that. Not enough money in legalizing pot, even from looking at what Colorado's done to pay for his program.
To say nothing of all the increased costs that go
along with
legalizing pot.
And that's just expanded pre-K. That's not everything else he wants to do as part of the Kerwin Commission. So that's probably another 10, 20% increase in the annual budget on top of the 50% for the healthcare.
Right.
Then legalized marijuana is barely going to make a dent in it. So we're going to have legalized drugs, and we're still going to have huge tax increases. Then he wants to release thousands of prisoners, saying it's going to save a bunch of money. It won't. Maybe 10% of what he's saying, if that much.
And then your
so we're
cost savings will still get eaten because you're going to have to reinvest in cops in order to protect us from.
So far we practically doubled our taxes and our state spending. We've legalized drugs, and we've put thousands of people who were in prison on the street.
Yeah, I can't imagine why nobody wants.
Sounds
to
like
donate.
a great idea. I don't know
why nobody in Maryland.
I'm sure every Democrat's in favor
supporting
of that. What kind of crazy Democrat wouldn't want to vote? Even just the Democrats. You wonder why the governor has a 16-point lead in the polls.
This is why, folks. This is why. You want to take a break? You want to keep going?
Let's wrap. Let's go and not. I don't think we need to take another break. Let's just plow through.
So let's talk about reasons why Governor Hogan is winning.
Yeah, I wanted to do this because I saw this. David Moon is. I mean, Ben Jealous is his dream candidate, right? He's one of these far.
I don't think
left,
Ben Jealous is lefty enough for him.
Maybe not. Well, okay, as good as he's ever going to do. This is him and Eric Ludke are the far left. They can only get into office because of gerrymandering.
I think you want to use the other link because that link's not working. Go to the
Why is that link
site.
not working?
I don't know, but you should go to redmaryland.com and use that link. As everybody should go to redmaryland.com.
Well, whoever set that up did a
that was
job.
a real schmuck who did that.
Yeah.
But so as Greg was saying,
I know, right?
Dave,
So he has 10 reasons.
Top 10 reasons to support Ben Jealous over Larry Hogan.
This is why I want to address this to our conservative friends, to our and we haven't heard a lot from them lately because I think they got the message. So it's good to hear, by the way.
And by the way, again, if
Go
David
ahead.
Moon has to tell Democrats why they need to vote for Ben Jealous over Larry Hogan, it's not a good sign for the Democrats.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. And all you Trump supporters who are wondering why the governor doesn't do more to support Trump, keep in mind this is what the left is saying. You should vote for Ben Jealous. You should vote against Donald Trump. I'm sorry. You should vote against Larry Hogan because of these things. So if you're a big Trump supporter, you don't think Larry Hogan goes far enough, here's some reasons maybe you should vote for Larry Hogan. Number one, Hogan vetoed paid sick leave for workers. He did.
He did. He also proposed
He had a compromise proposal,
bill,
which if he could sustain the veto, they could have worked out something better, but he vetoed it.
Right.
Hogan vetoed increasing renewable energy. We heard that before. Left-wing nonsense, rent-seeking, all that kind of stuff. Hogan vetoed a bill to restore voting rights to residents leaving prison. Felons.
Felons is the word you're looking for.
Is the word that we're looking for. Hogan vetoed a bill to give felons voting rights.
Right.
Okay?
You know, it's easy to...
And not conservative enough for you still?
You don't, by the
Okay.
way, just so you remember, you don't lose voting rights if you're not a felon.
Right. Hogan vetoed a bill to decriminalize marijuana.
Yes. Yes. By the way, marijuana, still a federal crime.
Right.
FYI.
And by the way, it has been decriminalized. He's being a little vague about
I'm
that. It's not
shocked.
exactly right. Hogan vetoed a bill. They wanted to expand the decriminalization of marijuana, by the way. That's what they're talking about. Hogan vetoed a bill intended to help immigrants halt deportations over minor offenses. This is sanctuary state bill.
Yes.
Hogan vetoed a sanctuary state bill. Not enough for you, Trumpies? Not enough for you? Okay. And by the way, for those who have friends who are Trump supporters who they hear this, share with them this list. Okay. Hogan vetoed legislation giving parents and this is the teachers union getting a seat on the Board of Education.
Yes.
He said, no, I'm not giving you one.
Right.
Guess what? They ain't going to get one anytime soon. I can tell you that. Hogan vetoed a bill to stop police from taking your, it's more complicated. This is the civil forfeiture. There was a lot of stuff attached to it that was bad stuff, letting bad people get away with stuff. Hogan's not against reforming civil forfeiture, but it was a bad bill the way that it came out. Hogan joined Trump in calling for Maryland to reject refugees.
I don't recall Trump getting involved in that.
Well, no, this is the governor not wanting to take some of these Syrian refugees.
Yes.
Hey, Trump supporters, governor did that. Okay. Isn't that more important than whether he sends a helicopter to New Mexico? Just saying, something to think about. All right. You can see why I wanted to do this. Hogan delayed implementation of tougher water pollution standards for coal plants after trying to propose pro-coal. Hey, okay, all right. Here's another one. Hogan called removal of additional Confederate monuments political correctness run amok. He did. Now that was a couple years before he did nothing about the Tawney statue, but he did say that in the past.
Right.
Just saying. So these are this is the Governor Hogan you think's not Trump supporting enough. By the way, he held back $1 million that was supposed to go to Brian Frosch to sue President Trump. They don't put this on the list. He did that too. So on immigration, if you listen to David Moon, Larry Hogan, pretty good record, don't you think?
That's what it sounds like to me, Greg.
So,
but what do I know?
So all you Trump supporters, this is your guy. Larry Hogan's your guy.
Yeah.
Don't take our word for
it. But again, it just goes, Craig, to the point that the fact that the Democrats feel like they need to give other Democrats a pep talk in order to in order to make Democrats vote for Ben Jealous shows just how totally screwed these people are.
They're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, they're in a lot of trouble. I mean, you've got all this fake news out there. The real news people, the fake news folks, they're just spewing out there. You've got nobody's giving to the campaign. None of his donors are from Maryland.
Right. And we like playing this up because we know the people who are listening to this and reading this are in the conservative bubble.
Of course.
And you probably don't hear that point of view very often.
Right.
And you should. Because I've been asked the question when I've been on the radio, does Ben Jealous think he can win? Yeah.
Yeah. They don't get it.
Think not only do they think they can win, they think they're going to win, and this is how they're going to win.
They still think they're still putting this myth out there that all they have to do is increase turnout.
Yeah.
Not
taking
anything into account, anything that's been written, stuff that we've been written in Red Maryland for 3.5 years, stuff that the Democrats wrote.
Right.
That turnout was not the reason Anthony Brown lost, and they don't realize that the world has changed, and they are still running the same races that they ran in 2010, 2006, 1994, 1982,
and they think
etc.
And they think if you just know the truth, when the truth comes out, even though everything they're saying has been publicly said for years, the canceling the red line is racist, and the governor's not spending enough on education, and all these left-wing plans for single-payer health care and releasing criminals and legalizing drugs, these have all been discussed before. They're all out there. The governor's position on them is well known, and yet he's still getting the support that he's getting. Okay? They can't accept the fact that maybe there are a lot of Maryland voters, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, who prefer the governor's governance than what Ben Jealous offers in the alternative. They can't accept that because they're in this left-wing bubble that thinks everybody thinks like they do.
Right.
And the people who don't are just being fooled.
Meanwhile, us in the real world who talk to real people know what's going on. We know that people are supportive of what the governor is doing.
Right.
Lots of people who I know who don't care about politics otherwise, they're all in for the governor.
And don't dismiss the fact that he is likable. Because as Brian points out, not everybody's ideological. For some people, likability, trust, character, those things do matter for a lot of people.
Right.
But the point I want to get to again, and I want to make this one more time and then we'll go. You need to hear what the left is saying about the governor. You need to understand their mentality. Because there are people, I'm sure, who listen to this, particularly some of you on Facebook. I'm looking at you right now, who are saying, I can't understand how anybody supports Ben Jealous. I don't understand how anybody thinks. But by the way, if you ever start a sentence that way, you're the problem. Okay? Because you should understand that. You should endeavor to understand it. This is the mentality.
This is the Democratic, this is the leadership of the Democratic Party. And this is the result of a lot of stuff. A lot of it has to do with gerrymandering, because you get these radicalized Democrats who run in districts where they never face
they're used to winning
competent Republican challenge.
They get in this bubble. They're not used to running competitive races. They're not used to the idea of having to compete with voters.
So the race is to out-left each other. And that's how you wind up with guys like David Moon and people like Brooke Learman. You get some of these just real out-to-lunch people who've never met a Republican, basically.
And they believe everybody thinks the same way they do.
Right.
Especially if they're a Democrat. And the fact is, there are a lot of Democrats in Maryland who aren't progressive leftists.
Right.
A lot of them.
There are Hogan Democrats. They are Trump Democrats.
Yeah.
They're out there, okay?
A lot of people who are, there hasn't been a realignment in Maryland for a long time. We'll talk about realignment after the election.
Right.
But the point is, the Republicans have shown for a long time that they can get a significant percentage of those votes and win statewide. The Democrats haven't learned that.
Nope.
Or if they learned it, they forgot it this year. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, let me go ahead and wrap it up, Greg.
Yes,
another
let's wrap it up.
Fantastic edition of the last episode of Red Maryland Radio for the meteorological summer.
There you go.
Meteorological fall starts on
There you go.
Saturday, September 1st.
It's over. I hope it just cools off a little bit. I'm ready for some football too. I know most of our audience isn't. Sorry.
But hey, there's college football, and Maryland's doing us wait.
We talked about that. I'm not a big college football.
I know you're not. But we'll talk. We'll talk football next week. So maybe
we'll get a little bit at the end. Don't freak out.
Yeah, it's not going to be a football show, okay?
We can only beat up on Ben Jealous so much. I mean,
well, you sure about that?
Well, he is making it.
Every week, I think we're going to run out of Ben Jealous stuff to talk about, and then he just keeps tripping.
He's the gift that
stepping
keeps
on his
giving,
dick, as you said last week.
I didn't say it that way. I said that off air, shock jock. Anyway, let's wrap it up.
Be sure, of course, to check out all the stuff on the Red Maryland Network on Sunday. I'll be back with a new episode of the Air Raid. It'll be a very important episode. You're not going to want to miss this. By the way,
important.
Very important. Theoretically, there's a show called The Conservative Refuge that occasionally airs on Tuesdays.
Let's just keep going. I'll try. I'm busy.
We're back. We're back next Thursday with
Brian. Knows I'm busy.
I do know you're busy.
Okay. All right.
I know you're busy. We'll be back next Thursday for another brand new episode here of Red Maryland Radio. Of course, you can subscribe to Red Maryland Network program on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, the TuneIn Radio app, and Google Play. And you can have all those shows automatically download the device of your choice. Of course, the home base for all things Red Maryland, redmaryland.com. You can click on the support us link. You can there's the links to subscribe.
Yes.
There's the links to donate. Thank you to everybody who's donated.
We have gotten some timely donations.
We're not
from
getting
friends,
Coke money right now.
But we are willing to accept
take it.
All the dark money you want to give us.
You can go to paypal.me/redmaryland, or you can get it to us that way. You can also click on the Amazon link and make your purchase on that Amazon link. And a portion of that purchase comes back to Red Maryland to help us grow and enhance the network. If you have to buy stuff for school starts on Tuesday.
That's right.
You
Thank you, Governor Hogan. We can enjoy summer.
Click on our Amazon link.
Yeah.
And a portion of that purchase comes back to us. It don't cost you anything.
Don't cost you nothing.
Don't cost you nothing.
Don't cost nothing.
And you can help us grow and enhance the network that way. You can also go to Zazzle.com/Red-Maryland. Click on the Zazzle link. Make your purchase of Red Maryland Network swag. Your Ben Jealous. Are you effing kidding me?
Yeah, get your Ben Jealous. Are you effing kidding me? And own the libs.
Yeah, own the libs, man.
Yeah, it triggers them. Yeah, it really does, by the way.
Oh, boy, does it ever. You can also follow us on social media, facebook.com/Red Maryland. For those of you who are watching us on Facebook, thank you. If you haven't liked us before, like us.
Share with your friends.
Follow us on Twitter @Red Maryland. We're on Instagram @Red Maryland. And don't forget, folks, you right there, you are the force multiplier. You are the one who can share Red Maryland content with your friends, neighbors, colleagues, family members, co-religionists, community members.
Go share this video.
People you don't like.
Yeah.
Share it with your friends. You are how we can spread the conservative message like wildfire.
That's right.
Across the state of Maryland. And invite people to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram.
Right.
Okay. Do
Absolutely.
it. Do it.
Do it.
And of course, we have our email, redmaryland@gmail.com.
Good old fashioned
do that.
electronic
And you can call us at 410-205-4875.
What's that number?
410-205-4875. That is the Red Maryland Talkback line. And we will feature your comments potentially in a future Red Maryland Network episode. Sometimes people call us on behalf of elected officials trying to get advertising from other candidates. It's kind of weird, but it happens.
Weird. It is weird.
Greg,
I think we know everybody, and we do know an awful lot of people. But
right, but we're not their secretary either.
Yeah.
Greg, any final thoughts?
Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful holiday weekend.
Indeed.
Be safe.
And what's that number again?
410-541-6384.
Right. Know your rights, by the way.
No, that's right. That's right. Know your rights.
And if people want to know more about their rights, where can they go read up on that?
Well, with regard to alcohol-related driving offenses, let's say, AnneArundelDUI.com.
Right. So, Greg,
have a great weekend.
You too, man.
Are you traveling this weekend?
We're not. We're gonna be home this
So
weekend.
you're resting up from all your vacation?
We are not traveling anywhere in the immediate future, which is kind of nice.
Wow.
Actually. Yeah.
It's exciting.
It means I don't get to go to Sheets, but hey.
You'll live.
Probably longer.
What's your favorite thing at Sheetz? I know you're a fan.
Okay.
You married a woman from Pennsylvania, so I
No, I married one from Ohio.
Whatever.
You were at my wedding, which was in Ohio.
Okay.
The reception was in West Virginia.
You're right.
You did have to drive through Pennsylvania.
That was the worst part. Yes. My car barely made it back. Did I ever tell you that story?
No, but
okay. Barely made it back. I thought it was going to die. It did eventually die later on.
Again, ours died on the trip. So, you know, the favorite thing that I can't get that often is the quesarito.
Quesarito.
Right, because that is just a calorie bomb.
When I was in law school, I lived in Thurmont, at home in Thurmont, and I worked in Thurmont, and I would leave and I would get Sheetz nachos and go home and watch MSC3K.
I believe you have told that story before. Right. Yeah. I will say this though, if I can't remember what the name of it is. Like the reverse chocolate chip cookie, which is a chocolate
chocolate with like bits of cookie.
No, it's a chocolate chip cookie with like white chocolate chips.
Oh, that's just a white chocolate chip cookie. It's not reverse.
No, but it's chocolate. Like the cookie is chocolate. It's not like a regular chocolate.
Oh, I
cookie.
see. I see what
the
you're
cookie
saying.
Base, if you will.
Wouldn't the opposite be chocolate with a little bit of cookie in it? Wouldn't that be?
I think I got the name wrong. I think I got the name wrong.
That would be like a Bizarro chocolate chip cookie.
I think I got the name wrong.
Okay.
I've had chocolate bars with bits of cookie in them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. I think we're getting hungry. We should end the show.
But usually when I go to Sheetz, I wind up just getting like a turkey sub, which is the best value, by the way, in fast food. A half of a turkey sub is $2. $2. A whole turkey sub is $4. And it's better than crap you get at Subway. It's made to order.
What a deal.
MTO. What a deal. So,
MTO.
And Sheetz is not sponsoring our show, but
they should. They should. Yeah, yeah.
Well, listen.
We can pay and trade. We can work something out.
You know what? I would do advertising for coupons in a heartbeat because I am cheap and hungry.
I told you years ago I had a case against Sheetz, and I went to the
you didn't tell me
corporate
this.
headquarters and
in Altoona
deposed some of their senior officials.
Really?
Yeah, it's not that great.
Altoona. Oh, I've been to Altoona.
Their headquarters.
Yeah,
it's just a crappy strip mall building.
The Sheetz headquarters.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Wasn't that great?
I mean, all the money.
We settled the case. It wasn't that great.
All the money is going into the made-to-order kiosks.
This was years ago. This was many, many years ago.
Oh, they've refurbished a lot of their stores too. I'm sure they've got a lot more scratch now. Well, it's a weird way to.
I'm not a fan of Pennsylvania or Virginia. I'm just gonna stay in Maryland. That's where I belong.
I don't have issues with those states as you do. Connecticut, that was another story, but that's
Well,
we say that all the time.
never been, never will.
You're not missing anything. The Knights of Columbus Museum is in Connecticut, though. Also, the birthplace of the hamburger. And I have been to the birthplace of the hamburger.
It's disputed.
Louis Lunch, New Haven, Connecticut.
Is it good? Is that the square one where they put the?
It's on bread.
The toasting things.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can we just end the show?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now I want a hamburger.
Because now it's two fat guys talking about food. That's a whole different. That's a Food Network show.
It probably is. Probably is.
Pretty sure I've watched it. Just reminds me of the guy from
Just end the show. Just say something. I'll play the music and we're done.
For everybody here at the network, thank you very much for listening. For Greg Klein, I am Brian Griffiths. You have been listening to Red Maryland Radio on the Red Maryland Network.
Oh,